And this is why I care so much about it, because I don't know if there's anything else on the planet where we're contributing 3 times a day to something that we are most likely, or at least that I was, very, very, very against. And it's such a simple change. All right, what's up YouTube? Welcome to my channel, That Vocal Vegan. My name is Danesh, and yeah, I'm just really excited. Let's get started. By the way, like if you don't want to watch this, I'm gonna include, I feel like such a YouTuber. No, but anyways, I'm gonna include like a part in the description or whatever in the comments so that you can skip this introduction and go straight to, the questions. But this is just, if you want a little overview of who I am, like what I want to do, and the purpose of this channel. So something else I'm gonna say is, please, they always say, like, pulverize that like button. Please subscribe. I don't know much about the YouTube algorithm yet, but apparently that's a big part of it. And I promise, oh God, I'm nervous about saying that, but I do promise to a reasonable degree that I will reply to every comment. So comment, and I'll probably say throughout this video, comment on this, comment on that, what do you think, what about that? So yeah, so feel free to comment. I'm super excited to engage with y'all and see where this goes. I'm just as excited as y'all. This is my first video, of course, so I'm just learning, I'm getting better, and even give me feedback in the comments. Seriously, you can be like, Danesh, this video sucks. Danesh, your hair sucks. Danesh, your lighting sucks. Whatever. I'm all open for constructive criticism. On this channel, I'm gonna be singing. I'm probably gonna be doing some covers. I'm probably gonna be doing some vegan content. I'll be rotating between the two. I'm not really sure if it's gonna work. Let me know in the comments if you think it's gonna work. Some people might argue it's too niche, but I don't know. I'm hoping that, it's one of those things where it's come for the vegan content, stay for the singing, or something like that. Probably it's more likely gonna be the reverse, right? More people are gonna be into the singing stuff than the vegan stuff. If I'm even any good at singing, the jury is still out on that one. But anyways, I'm just gonna be trying stuff with this channel, figuring things out, and yeah, hope, again, leave your comments. Leave your feedback in the comments. Excited to hear what y'all think. What I want this channel to be is, I want this channel to be a place where I spread a lot of vegan activism and talk about veganism. I hope I didn't lose you already. But also a place where I sing. It's something that I've always loved singing since I was a kid. Since I was 8, I would always sing. And honestly, I've been afraid of doing that my whole life. And even if it doesn't work out, even if y'all are like, whatever, you know what? At least I gave it my best shot, and then I can move on to something else, right? So anyways, that's the little intro to the channel. Just to explain how I even got into veganism real quickly, I'll probably do a video about it anyways, but I initially got into it for the health aspects. I watched this documentary. I know I'm one of those people. No, I promise I'm not actually. I watched this documentary, The Game Changers. Highly recommend it for those of y'all who haven't watched it. Then I watched another documentary called Cowspiracy. Also recommend watching that. Super good documentary, just about the environmental impacts. And then like a couple months later, I stumbled upon this video on YouTube about the ethics about animal cruelty and veganism. And for me, I was always like, that's kind of the weakest argument. I don't really, sure, it's like horrible and sad what happens in factory farming, but at the end of the day, I was kind of numb to it. I was just desensitized, But then I watched this guy who gave these super logical arguments, and I'll include that video below as well, but he just didn't use any graphic imagery. He challenged beliefs that at least I already held, and made me realize that I may have been applying my own logic differently when it came to, animal agriculture and, seeing animals as commodities. So the purpose of this video is I want to go over a lot of these questions that I got asked, a lot of the ways that I got pushed, because I wish that somebody had asked those to me a long time ago, so I could have aligned my actions more with my ethics. So hopefully y'all will find this useful, and y'all will begin to understand why vegans care so much, and why vegans talk about veganism the way they do. So the first question and it's kind of like a silly question. I don't know, I shouldn't say silly, but you'll see what I mean. So the question is, do you think animal cruelty is wrong? And so when I got asked that question, I thought, well, obviously. And I also was like, well, my definition is different from your definition. All right, okay, totally get it. But it just at a baseline, is animal cruelty wrong? And then, I kind of got asked, why is it wrong? And I thought, well, why would you hurt an animal unnecessarily? They're sentient, they're living, they recoil from fear. Why would you hurt a little dog? And, even ducks in the, the lake, or wild animals. It just seemed to me, yeah, animal cruelty is wrong. Why would you hurt innocent beings? So then the next question, and this kind of got answered to me by watching The Game Changers, but it was, do we need animal products to survive? And so the answer is no. I've been vegan for 20 months and I'm fine. I'm actually the healthiest I've ever been. And 20 months is 1 year and 8 months for those of y'all who are doing the math in your head. I told my cousin 20 months the other day, shout out to Luis Fer, and he was like, "Ay primo, like don't make me do math," you know. So I've corrected the way that I tell people, because you know when you're at 18 months, but then keeps extending. Anyways, and you know, if you look into it, there's a ton of like plant-based vegan athletes. There's like millions of vegans alive. You know, if anecdotes aren't good enough sell for you, then the Academy, so I'm gonna stumble on this. I'll put like the exact thing below, but the largest group of nutritionists in both the UK and the United States have categorically stated that a vegan diet or plant-based diet is healthy for all stages of life, including infancy, lactation, pregnancy, like childhood, adulthood, as long as it's well planned, right? And that's the key. So then that kind of made me realize that eating animal products is unnecessary. So then, all right, why are we doing the stuff that we do to animals if we don't need to do that? So there must be another good reason, right? Like, I had a lot of them, and I'm sure y'all think about a lot of them as well. Like 99% of the population or whatever, you know, has tons of reasons for why we still do what we do. So the next question was, do you think that animals want to live? And for me, I don't know about you, but for me that was not as hard of a sell, right? Because if you look at like ducks and animals and dogs, like they run away from pain, they're afraid, like they want to live. And I've also watched slaughterhouse footage, and those animals want to live. Like they do everything they can to stay alive until their last breath. And it's sad. For me, it isn't really a question, do animals want to live or not? Some part of me was like, well, they can't communicate with us, they can't tell us. But I would say, one, like they scream like we do. And two, like even if someone isn't able to communicate with us, let's say a human example, like a baby or someone who doesn't speak our language, we still kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, right? So for me, that sort of wasn't really a question I pushed back much on, right? Like, do animals want to live? Yes, they want to live. So that kind of leads into the next question. Kind of like we talked about earlier, if it's unnecessary to kill them, then how do we kill them ethically? Like, how do you kill something that, or someone, right? I would say someone. You would call a dog a he, right? He or she. I think we've made these animals into its, but I would call my dog, you know, hey, like he wants that, she wants that. So that's why I'm going to use someone for non-human animals. So like, how do you kill someone that doesn't want to die? You know, how do you kill someone ethically that doesn't want to die? And I struggled to find an answer to that. And so the next part would be like, oh, well, you know, you kill it humanely. So that's the next question. How do you kill someone that doesn't want to die humanely? Like, what does that mean? Is it no pain? Is it, you know, quick? Like, what is it? And when I kind of applied all that to me as a human, it didn't really make the cut. You know, if you shot me in the head, like a freaking sniper just went through and boom, like killed me right now, like I've had an amazing life, but would that still be inhumane? Would that still be cruel? I think so. What about, you know, if I had a dog, like let's apply it in animal context, right? Like if we had this dog, gave it an amazing life for 6 months or whatever, like a little Labrador, adorable, and then you went out and you bolt gunned it in the head because it's dinner time, like I still think that's cruel. And so I don't know, like what do you think? Like leave a comment, right? Do you disagree? I think it's cruel. And so for me, how do you kill someone that doesn't want to die in a humane way? I can't think of a way. But then, you know, another argument that comes up is, well, Danash, you know, animals kill other animals. It happens in nature. So the question, you know, that I got pushed on was, if it happens in nature, is it ethical? Like, is it okay? Animals do it. Lions do other animals. Well, do other animals need to eat other animals to survive? Lions do. Do we? And like we kind of talked about earlier, we don't. So it's not really a question of necessity, right? In terms of necessity, like our morality can change. I could justify killing a human being if my life or my family was in danger. That doesn't mean that out of context, it's okay to murder humans. Anyways, that's how I kind of rationalized it. And so then the next part is, even if that wasn't the case with animals, you know, what other context do we base our morality on what animals do? You know, lions eat their own cubs too, but if I don't even want to say this, but like if I, you know, ate or killed my child, nobody would be like, oh, dude, that's fine, lions do it. People would say, dude, Danesh, what is wrong? Like, I would go to jail. Period, I go to jail. And of course I should go to jail. And animals do a ton of horrible things to each other. So the argument that it happens in nature is, for me, it didn't really hold water either. So then the next question is, can culture justify an action? Because we might say, all right, well, Danish, pigs and chickens, we've just decided culturally that those are the animals we're going to eat, and then dogs and cats and dolphins, we're going to love those. And so it's just something that we've decided as a society, and that's just how it is. I started thinking about if that was good enough justification, and then I started thinking about countries where, women are stoned, or certain countries where there's female genital mutilation. And I started thinking, well, is it okay because it's their culture, or is it still wrong? Like, at what point do we say, hey, like, maybe there is something wrong with that? And I come from the United States, where there's a big revolution of not imposing our Western values on other countries and trying to accept other cultures. And then it kind of gets muddled in these cases, or at least I used to think it did. But when I started thinking about it from the victim's perspective, like if I were the victim in those cases, if I were suffering female genital or, genital mutilation, or if I were being stoned, I probably wouldn't find culture a moral justification for that violence being inflicted upon me when I don't want it to be inflicted upon me. What do y'all think? Leave something in the comments. But for me, it was kind of disingenuous to think that way. And then really, you could justify anything with culture. You could say, well, my culture abuses children, so don't put your Western values on me. And again, I just think that's disingenuous. I don't really think that's a good argument for why it's okay to do anything. Then the next question is, can pleasure justify an action? Because, right, you might say, all right, Danish, at the end of the day, I don't care. I like cheese. Bacon is life. Steak all day, every day, whatever. I just like it. Not going to give it up too hard. And so the thing is, I totally understand where you're coming from. My favorite restaurant was Fogo de Chao. Like, there's a picture of me on my 21st birthday where I'm just like there with a big old steak or, I don't know, cake, whatever. But I love the place. I love meat. The question is just because somebody enjoys doing something, does that make the action justifiable? And I don't think I have to go very far with this one to get people to start thinking, if it makes me feel good, even if there's a victim, does that make it okay? Obviously not, You can't just come and punch me in the face and be like, oh, sorry, man, I just like punching you in the face. I would say, please don't do that. I'm a victim in this case. And you can obviously make more and more severe cases of mistreatment of other people or other beings. And so, again, I don't think pleasure is a good justification. And so then it comes down to, what do you value more, taste or life? And when I put it that way, I couldn't really justify using pleasure as my justification for inflicting violence on others. Again, if you disagree with anything, let me know in the comments. Happy to have like a chat. And then I think the biggest one for me too, when I asked my dad when I was a child, at least this is what I remember. I could be making this up, but this is what I remember. I said, hey dad, like why do we eat animals? Like, is it okay? And he said, they're bred for that purpose, so it's fine. And that's kind of what I believed for the longest time. I was like, oh, well, they're bred for that purpose, whatever. They eat dogs in China, and they're bred for that purpose, so probably fine. But then, you start applying that to other situations, and it doesn't really, at least for me, it doesn't really, add up, because I wouldn't justify dog fighting. Well, they're bred for that purpose. I like to starve my animals and do whatever I want with them. Or like in a human context, I can't just raise kids and do whatever I want with them. I can't raise a bunch of cats and breed them and just a shotgun them. I don't have ultimate dominion over whatever I happen to bring into this world, you know what I mean? So that logic doesn't make sense for me in that case. So why would it make sense when it comes to inflicting violence on animals for my own consumption? So that kind of goes into the ultimate vegan philosophical question, and it's, what is the difference between a human and a non-human animal that makes it okay to do what we do to the non-human animals that makes it not okay to do it to a human? And so a lot of people, me included, would say things like, it's our intelligence, our ability to see the future, so all these things, right? But the question or the dilemma happens when we start thinking, well, if we applied those traits to a human, would that make it okay to do it to a human? So for an example, if we found a human who had the same cognitive level as an animal, as a pig, say, would that then make it okay for us to kill and exploit them? And there are people who are like that. There are people born like that. What about people who are unable to see the future? Older people, they lose their self-awareness, they lose their ability to understand what's going on around them. But that doesn't suddenly mean that we're eating grandpa, you know what I mean? The more that I thought about it, the harder it was to use that as a justification. You might even be like, well, Dinesh, it's just because we're humans and they're animals and period, right? And I also struggle with that. I kind of find that like lazy logic because, at the beginning of the video, we talked about how we're against animal cruelty. We're against hurting animals unnecessarily, kind of like this golden rule thing, right? Do unto others as you would want done unto you, something like that. You know what I mean? We wouldn't say, oh, we're humans so we can hurt animals, because most of us are against, needlessly harming animals. So then why all of a sudden when it comes to murdering, we say, oh, but that's okay. I'm not okay with, hurting them, but murdering is okay. So that logic just didn't make sense to me. It's actually called an appeal to group fallacy, right? It's, you're not part of my group. And that kind of lazy thinking where you're not thinking about why we are treating certain groups differently can lead to a lot of other situations that we wouldn't necessarily agree with. So you could use that to justify racism, sexism, being anti-LGBT because, oh, sorry, like you're a woman, you're just not a man, so you're not entitled to the same moral consideration as me. Oh, or you're black, sorry, like you're not entitled to the same moral consideration as me. When we think about it, we all, LGBT, black, like women, all of these oppressed groups are entitled and deserve the same moral consideration as their counterparts because we can all think, feel, love, we can all understand the government. I'm not saying that we should give animals the right to vote in the government either. I'm not saying animals are the same, but you don't have to believe that. If, the baseline of moral consideration is, wanting to live and be free from exploitation and being murdered, then animals do pass that bar. So the next thing we can get into is, all right, Danish, but what about plants? Everything you just said, applies to plants too, right? Plants are alive and we're needlessly killing them, so, you're just as much of a killer, right? And so what I got pushed on for that one is plants don't feel pain. Plants don't have a central nervous system. Plants don't have pain receptors. They're not sentient beings. They don't have a subjective experience of reality that is uniquely their own the way that animals do. Also, intuitively, that argument is not a strong one for me because plants never develop the ability to move, to evade pain. Some plants literally want to be eaten as part of their reproduction cycle, like their fruits. Mainly their fruits. And I can't think of animals that do that. Let me know if you can. Another thing is, you were driving a car and like a dog ran in front of you. Would you hit the dog or would you go into the bed of roses, right? Probably bed of roses. Anyways, so I just didn't find that line of argumentation super convincing. But let's say I'm wrong about everything and that, plants do feel pain, Dinesh, you're wrong. We just don't understand how they feel pain, but they do. If we're eating animal products, we're still responsible for many times more plant deaths than if we just ate the plants themselves. And vegans aren't perfect. I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying we're living these flawless lifestyles. At least what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do less harm. And by eating plants, I'd be doing less harm than eating the animals themselves. And then we all saw that upside down, whatever, pyramid, that pyramid, like this. The pyramid in biology class, with the calories and the conversion and everything going uphill. And of course it's inefficient to use animal products. So we have to grow the animal. We have to feed it so much food that we could otherwise eat ourselves. I think I saw somewhere, I'll probably link it below if I'm wrong or I'll make a little correction, but I think it's like 17 kilograms of plant matter for 1 kilogram of animal matter. And I don't know what the conversion is with calories. I'll also maybe link it down below. But the point is it just doesn't make sense from an efficiency perspective, and that argument really applies for anything when it comes to comparing the animals and the plants, because if we're eating the animals, we're responsible for magnitudes more plant deaths. So the next question, I was kind of referring to it earlier, but it's because we exist, because we're doing harmful things regardless, does that mean we have a free pass to do whatever we want and cause as much suffering as we can? Because people will tell me, oh, Danesh, like, don't you fly? I do fly. Don't you wear clothes that aren't vegan? Like, yes, these aren't vegan. There's some kind of exploitation. Don't you buy products from China? What, like you hate the Uyghurs then? I'm not perfect, but it really just comes down to when I go to the supermarket, I can make a more ethical choice. And this is why I care so much about it, because I don't know if there's anything else on the planet where we're contributing 3 times a day to something that we are most likely, or at least that I was, very, very, very against. And it's such a simple change, right? It's buying oat milk or whatever instead of cow's milk. It's buying black beans instead of steak. It's buying, if you can afford it, Impossible meat versus, ground beef. And I'm in a position where I can do that. So why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I make the more compassionate decision when I can? Every day I go into the store, I'm choosing to live in a world where I am actively harming animals or where I'm not. And it's the presence and the ability to choose the alternative so easily that makes it a no-brainer for me. Anyways, this is really the final point, and I think this was like the most shocking one for me. It was, if you, viewer, hired a hitman to kill me, who has the responsibility of my death? Is it the hitman? Is it you? Probably a mix of both. I don't know. However you want to see it. I would see it as you, the viewer, had a big part of the responsibility, right? Because if you hadn't put that hit on, I wouldn't have been killed. And if I apply that logic to animal products, doesn't that mean that when I buy an animal product, I am murdering an animal? I am responsible for that animal's death? So that's the logic that I was kind of applying to myself, not wanting to contribute to this massive exploitation of animals that goes on today. And I will say that going vegan has been one of the most amazing things in my life. Like, that's another reason why I wanted to make this channel. I felt so good for my health. I feel so good for the environment. I know that I'm no longer contributing to this massive exploitation of sentient beings. Going vegan has been one of the best things of my life. And I wish somebody had pushed me to do this earlier and shown me what I know today so that I could have made this decision that aligns with who I am so much better than who I was before. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm spreading on this channel. But anyways, so everybody, let me know if you like this video. Thank you so much for watching it. Again, pulverize that like button as if it were plant-based chicken. Hit the subscribe. Comments abound. I'll reply to those comments. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. Is it too long? Was my hair weird? Was the lighting weird? Is my shirt ugly? You know, all the comments. So thank y'all so much for your time, and I can't wait to see y'all in the next video. So hasta luego.